Welcome everyone, it's the cryptolark. Super excited to have back on the channel the renowned AI scientist and CEO of Singularity Net, Ben. Ben, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. These are exciting times, and all of us in Singularity Net, we're really pumped for 2020.
Awesome. We guys have been up to so much recently. We're going to be digging in this chat into a lot of the stuff that Singularity Net has been up to, what we have coming up in front of us, but also we're going to be chatting a little bit about, the world of interesting stuff because I have a chance to sit down with a great mind and have a little chat about some of the fun stuff in the world. We're gonna get you a softball question to start off with. This one comes from 9 Volt. What's your favorite kind of beer?
Favorite kind of beer? I go for Corona. I've always liked Corona with a little lime. So.
Corona with a little lime. Classic, man. Classic. I love it. And Crypto Matt really wanted to know the hat. What's up with the hat, man?
The hat is classified information. I mean, we're sworn to secrecy by parties whose nature we can't disclose regarding the hat. So I'm sorry about that one.
I knew it. See, there you go, Crypto Matt. It's gonna happen. Okay. Next one is from Gael de Montagne Noir. It is the question is: time travel is organically not valid, but perhaps digital time travel could be feasible. What's your opinion on this concept?
Well, it's a digression from probably what we're supposed to be talking about, but I mean, actually, according to general relativity theory, the most relevant part of physics, time travel may well be physically possible. You just have to shape space-time continuum in the right sort of way. Like if you spin a football-shaped star, you could get a line-shaped singularity in the physics sense, fly your starship near, potentially go back in time. So I mean, Kurt Gödel, the mathematical mastermind, first discovered that general relativity lets space-time twist in a way that you could do backward time travel. And for those who are into extreme geekery, in Scott Arison's book, Quantum Computing Since Democritus, he has a whole theory of computational complexity of algorithms running on computers that can travel back in time during the computation to like feed future results back into past computations. So
Interesting.
there are a lot of interesting possibilities there. I mean, I would say that they're not on our 2020 Singularity Net development roadmap, but it's really hard to say once you get a technological singularity. Can you make machines to warp space-time to give rise to backward time travel? I mean, physics doesn't seem to prohibit it right now, and so that's certainly the sort of thing I think about in a rare spare moment. I mean, digitally, of course, one could simulate time travel, but I mean, that's not as interesting as doing the real thing.
That's right. That's right. It's no real substitute for actual time travel. It's where the fun's at. Very interesting. And of course, obviously, the stuff the Singularity is working on at a high level, bringing together the democratization of AI technology and stuff like this. This is all part of furthering the vision of actually reaching these what seem like science fiction ideas, right? But if we look back to the 60s and the 70s about what science fiction was back then, we can see a lot of those things have become science reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the science fiction genre from say 1930s through 1960s that portrayed an insanely rich, broad, deep, and detailed ensemble of amazing ideas. And now we're realizing more of them within decades than most science fiction writers thought would happen within centuries, right? I mean,
Yep.
so in some respects, I mean, getting to space opera type scenarios isn't accelerating especially, but I mean, in many respects, with neuroscience, genetic engineering, robotics, AI, internet, we're going much faster than the original science fiction writers foresaw, but in directions that actually make a lot of sense to them. And of course, because of this, some of the classic SF writers from before I was born are still around and seeing all the progress that's happening. I mean, maybe for the rest, we'll need to get time travel or resurrection machines or something.
Go back and be like, you were right about everything.
Yeah.
Then starts to being the question is, did that time travel experience? It's a deep topic. We could get totally derailed here, totally derailed. I'm going to move on to the next question. So this one's from Work with Nature, How to Grow Food. He asks, so just because we can create something that really has potential to be very dangerous, do we really need to satisfy our curiosity to make such a thing? And also, do you believe that AI will ever have real consciousness, or will it always be a program of yeses and nos?
Well, the philosophy of consciousness is a big, hairy topic that would take much more than this whole podcast to go over. I mean, my personal philosophy of conscious tends to be panpsychist. I think everything in the universe has some element of consciousness, and then a human brain manifests universal consciousness one way. A digital computer will manifest it in another way. And if I think if a digital computer has the type of thought patterns and experience patterns that a human has, then it will likely have the type of consciousness that a human has. But this is really an empirical question, and it's going to be very exciting to investigate this by creating AGI systems, by creating cyborgs where humans can plug into AGIs and
Mm-hmm.
sort of experience what they experience through the wire between their brains. It's going to be quite interesting, to say the least. Regarding the question of, should we create AGI or not, given that it has negative as well as positive potential consequences. I mean, as I've noted many times before, we could have raised this objection about agriculture, language, mathematics, machinery, the Industrial Revolution, computers, and the answer is always the same. I mean, there's a risk reward trade-off, in finance, in life on the individual level, and in life on the civilization and species level. And human beings seem to be tuned to take significant risks in pursuit of significant rewards. And that certainly is what our society and economy are doing with developing AI, nanotechnology, genetic engineering, and so forth. There are huge risks, huge rewards. Humanity as a whole is going for it, right? And as an individual, for us to decide not to go for it isn't going to stop humanity from going for it. So really, the question we face as an individual isn't, do you develop advanced AI technology, or do you stop because it might be dangerous? It's, given that society is developing it anyway, do you go along for the ride? Do you like sit it out and just hide in a cabin in the forest, hoping you can somehow avoid the singularity? Or do you try to direct what's happening in the most beneficial and positive way that you can? And of course, that's really what motivated me to get involved with Singularity Net, instead of just working on pure general intelligence research and development, which is what I have been doing before. Because say you develop a general intelligence, what happens to it? Is it eaten by some country's military?
Mm-hmm.
Is it eaten by some large company and then just driven to support their bottom line? Before we have the AGI, we want some infrastructure where you can roll out that AGI in a way that will be, democratic and participatory in its control, so humanity as a whole can direct it toward the greater benefit. But there's no guarantee there either. So I mean, if we want guarantees, I don't know, you got to mind upload into a video game simulated world where things are simpler and more determinate.
You're probably gonna need AI to figure out how to do that anyway. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you
Yeah.
don't. And I think one of the really interesting points that you kind of hit on a little bit here, and I want to expand on a little bit, is that Google and the US government and all these giant guys, they're doing this stuff, right? So it's so much better to have something like Singularity Net, where you've actually got a democratized public marketplace where people from
Yeah.
all across the spectrum can come in and access this technology, and we can further that technology by having these open democratic marketplaces, which I think is a really important step towards that.
Chinese government doing it too. Putin is now out there saying whoever creates the first artificial general intelligence will rule the world. And much like the open source world has, and much like open sharing of research papers on ArcSive and other websites does, having an open international, decentralized marketplace for AI this can serve to pull together AI developers and consumers, no matter what part of the world they're in. So it's really a force of togetherness, which counteracts against the motive to tribalism, which is really becoming disturbingly pervasive in politics right now.
It's a dangerous trend, without a doubt. Now, the next question here comes from Phil Cararini. He asks about so there's this massive push by governments, especially the United States and China, to roll out the 5G technology. Now, he thinks that's going to be for potentially a future where we see micropayments and AI, but also potentially deep state surveillance, of course. He says also that telecom companies say it's for faster downloads on YouTube and all that stuff, but he wants to know your opinion on, do you think it's kind of 5G is being developed for the stated reasons, or do you think that we're going to see a lot more of this come into play with things like AI and deep state surveillance and potentially also micropayments?
5G is being developed because it will let governments surveil people better, and it will let companies make more money. And it's not either or, right? I mean, they're both true. I mean, having real time two-way like streaming video at low cost. I mean, that's obviously huge for entertainment. It can maybe make virtual reality and augmented reality actually function, but also certainly governments can use it for a lot of obvious purposes, and corporations can use it to better program people's minds and turn them into the best possible like brainless consumerism zombies, right? So I mean, from an AI point of view, it's amazing in that it unleashes edge computing for AI, and I mean it also will greatly increase the amount of data feeding into our AI systems, which are then deployed on not just server farms but all sorts of devices, right? So I mean, in a way, it can be a move toward democratization. I mean, democratization of compute power, because all the computing power on the edge can be more thoroughly utilized, but also that can be used just to feed the data into the central storehouses of powerful companies and government. So I mean, it's really much like any other powerful technology. It can be used by good people and nasty people, and can be used for centralization or decentralization. I mean, just look at blockchain. Blockchain could be used to make a truly decentralized network. It can be used to make pseudo-decentralized networks like Bitcoin or Ethereum that are actually probably controlled by a small number of parties, but in principle could be decentralized based on the infrastructure. Or it can be used to build blockchain systems like the one the Chinese government has made to keep track of all the information, and there are multiple levels of government, right? Which can decrease corruption and increase efficiency, but is centralized by design. And you can do it either way, right? And I mean, it's the same way with most technologies, which is why until the AI has the autonomy and general intelligence and self and will to really be making the top level decisions, I mean, how these technologies are used still comes down to us pathetic old meat machines, right? And it becomes quite important what we choose to do with these technologies and how we choose to direct them.
That's right. That's right. Technology tends to be quite agnostic, right? It depends on what the humans who get a hold of that technology do with it. Now, the next one here is from Mr. Harry Lasagne. He asks, he'd like to hear about how developing countries without easy access to fiat gateways are going to be able to utilize artificial intelligence technology. Obviously, we usually think about Japan or Hong Kong, Korea, China, and all these places, or the United States, but there's a big world out there. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think smart contracts and the whole cryptographic infrastructure is very flexible, and certainly technologically there are many ways that folks in the developing world can use these tools to interact with the emerging crypto economy. So certainly on Singularity Net, the basis of our value transfer system is the AGI token, which is a cryptographic token anyone can use anywhere. But then if a government makes utility token transactions illegal, which has happened, I mean, then we can't control that, right? And
Hmm.
so I think you have tools that are sufficient to really enable low cost, efficient global payment solutions and information transfer solutions. And I have reasonable faith that the governments of the world will, in the end, will adapt to these, and you'll have efficient smart contract and encryption based value transfer throughout the world. But it's obvious there's going to be some regulatory ups and downs there, in spite of the obvious potential afforded by the technologies. And I mean, even Facebook discovered that, right? With
Yeah.
all the pushback they got about Libra, they have so much money and they're so mainstream, right? So I think this will be worked through, and I think what we'll get at the end will be something that's more decentralized and in a way more democratic than the current financial system, which is governed by a few large countries and large corporations. Because one thing you see is like India or Ethiopia or Congo, they don't especially want their economy to be manipulated by Donald Trump or Xi Jinping or Putin or Facebook
Hmm.
or Tencent that makes WeChat, right? So
Yep.
I think the governments of the developing world, they want to find a solution that will avoid, hegemony by the first world powers that be. Unfortunately, they may also want to exert more control over their own citizens, and I would really consider it to be ideal. So that there's going to be a bunch of mess, and the most we can do as technologists is provide tools that lend themselves really easily to beneficial and democratic solutions. But then, to an extent, it's up to people to push their local governments not to ban these solutions.
That's right. That's right. It still comes back to people at the end of the day, right? People have to want these things, have to use these things, have to participate in these
So far,
networks.
for a couple more decades, yeah, we should enjoy like the last hurrah when our decisions as humans are making the big difference, right?
That's right. Until the AI takes over and just makes all the decisions for us. Now, the next one I have here for you is from Derek Ross. Derek would like to know more about the marketing plan for Singularity Net moving forward. They'd also like to know more about the partnership with Cisco for traffic analytics, and also just a bit about you and how are you still feeling as excited and motivated about Singularity Net as you were previously and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, so I think regarding Cisco, if I had something I was allowed to announce according to Cisco's overlords, then I would probably have announced it already. So I mean, we're actually doing interesting stuff with a number of other large companies too. One thing you find with these big corporations is it's easier to get them to work with you or even pay you as part of a collaboration than to get them to allow public announcements of what you're doing. So the time will certainly come when we have a bunch of exciting announcements about a number of corporate stuff that's
great.
going on behind the scenes. Yeah, regarding marketing plan, that's certainly a more interesting topic. But our marketing plan for Singularity Net is really tied in with our plan for releasing new features on the platform. And I think that the first half of 2020 is going to be pretty exciting in that regard. So yeah, I would say we're about to enter into a very exciting phase for Singularity Net project. I'd say, of course, 2017 was an amazing high because we were just riding a wave of enthusiasm in the crypto markets generally, and preaching the vision of Singularity Net, right? And that's a fun, exciting thing to do. I mean, as a tech geek, when you're doing that, you always sort of wish, in part of your mind, you were sitting at the computer, like typing code or doing math instead. But still, sharing the vision was an exciting phase. I'd say the last couple of years we've been focusing more on building stuff, and also fun and very deeply rewarding, and in some ways a more thankless task, right? Because it's so easy to describe, hey, let's use blockchain to make a decentralized AI marketplace. And
Blockchain for
then,
everything.
well, but when you get into trying to make the software actually work, I mean, there's a lot of design decisions
Hmm.
and some false starts of try something and then undo it and try something else. And I mean, there's a lot of compromises you have to make, a lot of just debugging and testing. So I wouldn't say it's less enjoyable than a phase of preaching and proselytizing, but it's different, right? So I think now the platform on the back end is pretty solid. We're going to be introducing a lot of new features in the first half of 2020. So I think this is going to be the year when all the back end tech work we've been doing really comes together with the external technology world, or at least begins to. I mean, it's going to be a multi-year endeavor to be sure. And if you look at the early days of, say, Amazon, you can get some sense of these things. I mean, Amazon, it actually took a while even to become a dominant force in book selling, let alone like the all around retail
Global
behemoth that
domination. Yeah.
it is now. Yeah. So where we are now with Singularity Net, 2020 is the year when we need to start to get real traction. I mean, we built something cool. We managed to use blockchain to build a decentralized AI network and marketplace, which had a lot of difficult parts that most people would never imagine if they're not digging into the technology. We put some of our AI on the platform, not even the most complicated stuff we've developed, but some interesting stuff. But now, really, the next step is to, you know, put the foot on the accelerator and get Singularity Net moving by getting third parties using the platform. And so, yeah, toward that end, we've got a whole bunch of stuff planned for the first half of 2020. Some of it we've put dates on, some of it we haven't yet. So there's, I mean, in February, which is pretty soon next month. So we're going to we'll launch software development kit for Java and Android. So you can put Singularity Net nodes, Singularity agents on your Android phone. I
Nice.
mean, iOS will come a little later, but this gets back to your comments about 5G, like edge computing, right? We want Singularity Net to be able to run on the edge, and this will be key for a spin-off project we have called NewNet, which is about bringing a huge amount of compute resources into the decentralized ecosystem. I mean, with an Android SDK for Singularity Net, you can run Singularity Net within a platform like NewNet that lets all this decentralized processing power get drawn in to answer someone's problem or carry out someone's computation. Then we're going to launch staking in the token during the first half of 2020, because we need that as part of the completion of our fiat crypto gateway. So
Hmm.
the details on how staking will work will also be announced in some blog posts during February. But I mean, basically, a bunch of people in our community have been asking, like, why don't you allow staking of the AGI token? It's a popular thing in the crypto world. And I mean, in essence, we didn't have a practical reason for it. But with the fiat crypto gateway, like right now, developers can offer services and they can get paid in fiat or crypto, but the developer themselves gets paid in our AGI token. So
Hmm.
at the current moment, with the PayPal interface, a user can pay in fiat or crypto, but the developer gets paid only in crypto, and that's fine. I mean, some developers would rather get paid in AGI tokens, just like some users would rather pay directly in AGI
Yep.
tokens. But
Yep.
with the completion of the fiat to crypto gateway, then you'll have both options on both the buyer and seller side. So that not only, as we have now, the user of AI services can pay in either fiat and crypto, the provider of AGI services will be able to get paid in either fiat or crypto. But once you do that, then you need some more liquidity in the AGI token. You need a liquidity pool of tokens, and staking can help with that. So basically, if someone agrees to stake tokens, they get a certain reward for staking the tokens, and the stake tokens are then available on the back end to help with the internal sort of a market making ish activity that you need to make the fiat to crypto gateway work. So we'll be explaining all that in some blog posts in February. So that's building up momentum. Then in March, we plan to release the staking smart contract. So we'll talk
Nice.
about the details in February. And then March, release the staking smart contract, and associate that, you can start staking your AGI tokens. And also toward the end of March, what's more exciting to me, the AI publisher portal. And this basically is a website that will make a systematic and easy to use way to put your new AI agents on Singularity Net's marketplace directly.
Nice.
So I mean, anyone can put an AI agent in Singularity Net right now. You don't need anyone's permission, right? That's the beauty of a decentralized network in the first place. On the other hand, we have like a curated list of AI agents on our website, and for that we have some legal liability for what's on there because we're listing it and recommending it to people. So we'll have a certain vetting process. I mean, sort of like submitting an app to the Google Play Store or something.
Right.
And then also tools for maintaining and updating your AI service once it's on there. Tools to ping you if it's gone down and people can't find it and so forth. So that publisher portal, which will launch sometime in probably toward the end of March. I mean, this is really where the traction can begin. I mean, of course, it's just a tool, but it's a tool that makes it much easier for everyone to submit their stuff onto the platform. So, I mean, we'll couple that with a marketing push aimed at both AI algorithm developers and AI product developers, and encouraging them to use the publisher portal and put their stuff on the marketplace. So then April, we're going to build on that. We're going to launch some more smart contracts, giving more flexible pricing models. Like, of course, right now you can make any smart contract you want for AGI token payment, but the token templates we've provided are sort of just pay per function call. Like you want an image classified, you pay per image. You want a question answered, you pay per question. But we're brewing up smart contracts supporting like subscriptions, tiered pricing, like batch discounts for people who get a lot of services from one agent or something. So just basically using the flexibility of smart contracts for a more nuanced marketplace. Because I think a lot of times it's going to be like bulk subscriptions that people use to keep getting the same AI services from the same agent over and over again. And we're gonna launch a couple of hackathons, initially online hackathons, probably an AI sort of algorithm developer hackathon in
Nice.
April, then one in May for product developers. So first in April, do an online hackathon, which may have some face-to-face components in different places too, but a global online hackathon where our team is there to help out developers to put smarter and smarter AI algorithms and models on the platform, complementing what we've already put on there ourselves from our team. Then in May, people developing AI products and services sort of hold their hands, help them, give them some enthusiasm, give prizes for the best ones for product developers using the existing AI algorithms on the marketplace, including the ones put in the first hackathon. So April for algorithms and models, May for products and services. And of course, I mean, a hackathon is a hasty thing. You're not likely to get the world's most polished and feature complete products out of it, but hopefully we can get some cool things started there, and then you can see a lot of momentum continue after that. And yeah, we want to launch similar to the request for AI portal. People can stake tokens or can commit and offer tokens that will then be paid to whoever delivers a specified AI function. Right, we're going to launch a Singularity Net enhancement portal where, like, I'd love the platform to have this feature, and I'll pay 1 million tokens for the first person to put this feature in
Nice.
GitHub platform. And then, yeah, I'd say June, the end of the second quarter, we should have the fiat to crypto gateway. So that the completed. So the idea is you start staking in March, then you have some tokens staked already, then you're building up the internal liquidity pool that you need to support the full fiat to crypto gateway to be launched in June. Now, then it'll be interesting because I mean it's always going to be a little cheaper to pay in the AGI token on average, but of course
Fluctuation because
often
the market and
there's some fluctuation, and not every company wants to deal with cryptocurrency, right? So I mean, in essence, the convenience and stability of using fiat on average will cost slightly more, but so that's kind of equivalent to just a fee being charged, right? I mean, so that I think it's not like the platform will be done by then. We're not going to call that 1.0 quite yet, but you can see that we're getting there, right? So something I didn't
significant progress.
yeah, something I didn't mention because we don't have a date for it yet. I mean, we're starting to work on getting our reputation system fully integrated into the platform. I mean, the
Nice.
intelligent rating system, and I mean, we did a lot of simulation, prototyping, and experimenting work on that, but we haven't integrated it fully with the platform. Mostly because it's not necessary. The point of having a rating and reputation system is once you have a lot of things on there, so there's such an embarrassment of riches, people can't sort through it all, right? So all this stuff we're planning for the first half of the year should lead to increased traction on there, which then necessitates the reputation system. So sometime this year we'll launch that, and then while all this is going on, we're spinning off a few projects. So that Singularity Studio enterprise software company been going on in the background, but we're doing some interesting stuff there with some corporations. And Rejuve, which is using Singularity Net AI for life extension biology, and then another
Yes.
project.
Wait, just yes. That's
There's a
amazing.
lot going
That's
on.
a
Yeah.
life extension. Bring it on. Bring it on. It's been too long. We've not been working on life extension stuff. That's great.
So you don't want to die either.
No, no, I'll go to like 150, maybe 200. I'll take that
150. How about 150 billion? Come on. We got
forever to the end of the
150.
universe.
Well, yeah. If you ever read a book called "The Physics of Immortality" by Frank Tipler, the physicist, so he argues if you arrange the star systems in the universe in the right configuration, you can cause the big crunch to happen at the end of the universe, cause the big crunch to happen in such a way that for each of us individually, we will experience an actual subjectively infinite period of time. So
Interesting.
you can literally live infinitely according to the peculiarities of general relativistic time distortion, right? On the other hand, if some asshole national leader makes killer robots that wipe us out, we're not going to get to the carefully architected big crunch and the infinitely
There's
long.
no living forever for anyone.
Yeah, so I mean we got to survive now. The next few decades, when humanity is going through the transition to the singularity, and yeah, part of that is creating benevolent AI, and part of it is helping human beings to actually survive the next few decades biologically. And so this is both. It's a way to get utilization of the platform because AI for bioinformatics, that's AI usage, and that uses AGI token on the platform and then goes all platform ecosystem. But it's also something of significant value on its own, right? Like I'm in my 50s, my parents are in their 70s. It'd be very nice if through development of new therapies, which AI can help with, along with plenty of nitty-gritty biology lab work, if we can extend our lives so we can survive until there's an AI hundreds of times smarter than us, for which repairing user biology is as simple as patching a flat tire, right? So we've been brewing a project called Rejuve using Singularity AI for life extension, and we're going to be launching some exciting stuff in that regard in the first half of the year, along with a project called Accelerando, which is a media project, which we haven't talked about publicly. But there's a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all in the vein of traction, basically. So I mean, launching spin-off projects that use the token, doing hackathons to get developers to build stuff on the platform, the publisher portal, staking and fiat to crypto gateway. I mean, all this is about moving toward getting actual widespread use in the AI world for what we're doing. And if all this stuff comes off as planned in the first half of 2020, which I believe it will, then second half of 2020 is going to be about, you know, enhancements like the reputation system, but also just getting more and more third-party AI into the platform. I mean, you know, by the end of 2020, we're still going to be a small fraction of the global AI market.
Mm-hmm.
But at least, you know, we want to be really showing that exponential growth of utilization. So then in 2021, you can see, you know, the decentralized ecosystem become a serious force. Well, shit, was that the answer to someone's question? That was a very long answer.
that was a good answer. Actually, I had a few more points here to cover, but you've actually kind of covered off most of the other questions that we have here about that's roadmap. You guys are up to so exciting things. I just feel like you're just, you know, totally into it, more excited and more invigorated, and just like, wow, it's such an exciting time to be doing what you're doing. And by the way, do you have any more information? This is from Stacy Dale Berense. Do you have any more information about the partnership between you and Nexus? Is there anything happening with that at the moment?
To be honest, not a lot that's new to talk about. There's been conversations, but there hasn't been new technology development. We've been also doing some pretty deep stuff in our partnerships with the Ocean Protocol, and then Shivam, which is the crypto project for genomics. But
Nice.
yeah, there should be some cool announcements, but not in this particular podcast.
That's all right. I think it's just important to know that those relationships that have been established before, they're still there. There's still things happening with those, even though there's all this other exciting new stuff that's happening too. So I think we've
Yeah,
covered a
I
lot of
mean,
great ground here.
Shivam and Ocean we've been working with closely, and they've also launched stuff, right? So now we're sort of seeing how can what we've launched and what they've launched, how can they work together. But there's a few other of the many partnerships we're into in the crypto world. There are a few others where we're actually engaged in really building code and making the platforms talk to each other. But yeah, we need to see a lot more of that, right? I mean, it's not on the roadmap yet for the first half of this year, but I would love to see, like we made this industry organization, DIA, Decentralized AI Alliance. At some point, I'd love to see a global integrated DIA hackathon just focused on getting developers from 50 crypto projects to spend a week hacking on connecting the platforms with each other.
That'd be
Because
awesome.
I think, I mean, that's really going to be important. Like our enemies aren't each other. Our competitors aren't each other, really. Our competitors are Google, Microsoft, Apple, IBM, Tencent, Baidu, and Alibaba.
NSA
Right?
and
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, as well, right? So, I mean, to the extent we can really interoperate together different decentralized computing networks, I mean, that can be very powerful, give us more of a fighting chance of really taking over the world AI economy. I mean, the way that the current crop of internet companies took it over from, you know, IBM and so forth, who were
Mm-hmm.
dominating AI decades ago. And I think, yeah, will be a good year to see more work on practical interoperation of different decentralized networks, because there are more projects that have actually launched something, right?
That's
Whereas,
right.
a year ago, it was hard because when everyone's in alpha mode, then no one wants to burn time connecting their alpha to someone else's alpha. But there are more projects that actually have functioning code delivering some useful value now, which means we're in a time when interoperating things can really be interesting.
So 2020 is going to be a very, very exciting year. Well, Ben, this has been, we've covered so much ground in this chat. It's been crazy, but I think we're going to wrap it up there. So thank you so much for coming on and going through this tour de force of, great information about what's going on in the world as well as what's going on in Singularity Net. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for the interview. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.